Hello, this is Robert Talbot, and welcome to the Principled Prosperity Podcast Show. In a world of negative news cycles, fear, competition, and scarcity, we will meet people who inspire us and teach us to live a better, more prosperous life through their experiences and principles of prosperity. This podcast is here to answer the question, what is true prosperity, and how can I live a more prosperous life?
All right. Well, welcome, Jeff Obrecht. I want to introduce everybody on the Principled Prosperity Podcast to Jeff Obrecht. He's a very successful real estate broker, auctioneer, and appraiser. He's been doing that for 39 years, and he specializes in Iowa farmland. He is married with 2 children and 6 grandchildren, and he has self-branded himself as the dirt dealer. So thank you for joining me today, and welcome to the Principled Prosperity Podcast, Jeff.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you asking me to do this. It's an honor for me to attempt this, I guess.
Well, great. Well, let's just jump right in. I would like you, if you could, just to briefly describe your company, who your ideal clients are, and the kinds of situations they find themselves in when they come to you.
Sure. Like I said, I've been doing this for 39 years. I started out many, many years ago working for Farm Credit, loaning money to farmers, and then worked for a couple different companies. Well, I had my own company for 22 years, worked with a couple different companies in the middle. And 3-4 years ago, being a country boy, I decided I'm pretty independent. So started back on my own again. It's been very, very good to me. We usually run somewhere in the neighborhood of $27 to $32 million in sales a year. Basically, it's myself, one salesperson, and a secretary. I've just been very fortunate in my career. I get to work with the best people in the world, and that's our farmers, landowners, attorneys, abstractors, et cetera, out here in the Midwest, in Iowa, et cetera. And I just feel very, very fortunate. My customers that I normally work with, especially today, not so much 20 years ago, but today, are people usually that have inherited farms. Mom and Dad bought the farm many, many years ago. It's kind of an interesting succession because Mom and Dad bought the farm, and then usually what happened would be that son or son-in-law would take the farm over when Mom and Dad were ready to retire.
Right.
And so we went through that, and then when that son or son-in-law got ready to retire, there were no kids to take over the farm because they're not farmers. They've all left the farm. They're working in the city, scattered all over the world. So the majority of my customers I have today are individuals that have inherited a farm, and whether it be 2 owners, I've had as high as 32 owners on a particular farm. And my job, I feel, is to help them liquidate the property, just because in so many cases it's easier to split money than it is farmland. And so that's really what I do every day, is work with people, solve the problem that they have, because it's always a problem. When you own a property together, it's very difficult when you have 3 or 4 different ideas on how to do things. Usually it's left up to one of the kids, and I will guarantee you that particular individual will not do it right for everybody. And so many times, like I said, it's just easier to split money than it is land. And so consequently, that's where most of my business comes from.
So you said 20 or 30 years ago, it really wasn't this way. What percentage of your clients are, a group of people? I mean, would you say a large, almost all?
Yeah, I would say probably 85 to 90% of my business today is people that are no longer connected to the farm, other than they own the farm because mom and dad had it, or aunt or uncle. And so consequently, they're deciding that they want to do something else with their money. I've always said that each one of those owners has a value system. Unfortunately, in most cases, they're never the same. Everybody has different ideas, and most of them are not wrong. It's just that they're never the same. And when you're going different directions, it's awful hard to get all the troops lined up to get them going the same direction. So easiest way is just liquidate it.
Right. So, and you said kind of a big number of how many millions of dollars worth of real estate you kind of deal with each year. How big? What kind of was about an average size for your client? I mean, what size of piece of land are we talking about?
Well, I would say probably it's going to be in that 100. I would say 100 to 120 acres.
Okay.
And, you know, if it used to be back in 2013 and 14, if you owned 80 acres, you were a millionaire because that's what it was worth. Today, it's a little bit less than that. But if you own 160 acres today, you're a millionaire. Now, you may have to split that million with several different people, or you may be the lone owner of that farm. But there's a lot of money in these farms, and consequently, again, my job is to help these people liquidate them in an orderly manner and try and get the top value that we can get for them.
Yeah. So when you just, without me being very fast at math on the fly, so what about average per acre is that?
I would say in my area, we're probably in the, I would say $7,500 to $8,000 an acre. And so, you know, it doesn't take a lot of acres to get a lot of dollars for these people.
Right.
In fact, so, I'm working on one today, as a matter of fact, that a family is not getting along, and they're probably going to sell a total of 1,995 acres, which is just about $12 million.
Wow.
So they were fortunate that they and mom and dad were able to put this together, but unfortunate in that they're not getting along very well. And unfortunately, it's for them, the best way to do is to sell. For me, it's a good deal for me because that's a lot of dollars to deal with. On the other hand, you're under a lot of pressure to do a good job because these farms are in Minnesota, and there's one in Minnesota, 9 of them in Iowa. So it's going to be quite an undertaking if we can get it done. So
yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. And so you're talking about the ideal client, maybe not the one that you'd love to work with, but these are very technical processes where you basically turn into kind of a counselor in a lot of ways.
Well, you do, and I've said here, at least in the last 10 years, I'm more of a problem solver than a realtor. These people come to you, they're looking for someone to help because they've probably exhausted. It's easy to go to an attorney, and all due respect to the attorneys, they normally do a pretty good job. But so many times, attorneys, I don't know, I just feel they a lot of times don't have that personal thing that they can get in the middle of these things and make it work. And I think sometimes it just takes a third party like myself to get in the middle of this. I treat all family members the same. They're all equal owners. You have to be fair. But probably the ultimate thing that I try and instill in my clients is the item of trust. If they don't trust me and I can't trust them, we probably shouldn't do business. And when you're dealing with the kind of dollars we deal with, it has to be a trust issue. It has to be. There's really no choice.
Right. So are there any myths or misconceptions out there about what you do, and are there any things that you do to deal with those things? Is there anything that come to mind?
Well, I think if there's any misconceptions, it's that and sometimes that comes more from the real estate side of it than the customer side of it. I think in my business, I think too many of the realtors that do and auctioneers that do what I do just feel that, well, we're just going to sell a farm and that's it. No, you're selling a history of this family. You're selling everything that's happened to them in the last 70, 100, 150 years. And you have to be aware of that, and I think you have to respect that with these people. Sometimes it ends up not being all about dollars. I can talk all I want about how much we spend or how much we sell, etc. But when it comes down to it, you solve a problem for people, you do it with respect, you get the job done to hopefully make their life easier down the road. And in some cases, to keep a family together, because
Right.
money does funny things to people, and unfortunately, it sometimes splits families up.
Yeah, that's a shame. Just a quick question on that, and then we're going to move on. But do sometimes do you think that things could be set up differently in a will that would help eliminate some of these problems? Is this some way that your job could be made easier if it was maybe planned out differently?
Well, I think that's a good point. There are situations, so many times mom and dad want to be fair. So let's say they have 160 acres, 4 children, and they say, okay, each one of your kids are going to get 40 acres. If they name those 40 acres specifically, fine. But what's to say all those acres are the same value?
Right.
This 40 acres over here may be worth $8,000, even though it's on the same farm. This 40 over here might be worth $6,000. Well, all of a sudden you got a problem. A number of years ago, we sold some farms down in Mahaska County, Iowa, and that's exactly what happened. Mom and dad thought they were doing the right thing by giving each one of the kids so many acres of ground. Unfortunately, the acre value was not the same, and then there was hard feelings. We ended up selling all 5 farms. Now, granted, I made money, but the one child ended up buying some of the farms back, which is fine. That's fair. So, sit down and look at, instead of splitting a farm by acres, split it by value. To me, that's the important thing. Split it by value.
Okay.
And there's some other things, as you and I've talked a little bit in the past, some charitable things that mom and dad could do with the farm that would help their children out, as well as other people too. And, I think so many times people are fortunate that they've been able to own these farms. They've been able to ride up inflation, land values, etc. Maybe that's an opportunity in their lifetime to do something for their kids, but maybe also do something for someone else too, whether it be a charitable trust or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So I think when you put your will together, you need to really sit down and take a real hard look at what you really want to have happen when you're gone. Because to me, that's very important. You're dealing with a lot of dollars. I think so many people assume that things are going to happen after they're gone. No, you can't assume anything. You got to put it down in writing what you want to have happen. As even in my own case, just as kind of a little humorous sidelight, as you may have heard, we have an umbrella cockatoo. That umbrella cockatoo lives 80 years. I'm 69. So we have had to put in our will where we want that umbrella cockatoo to go when we're gone. It's just a little thing.
Right.
But those little things breed big things.
Yep.
And so if we can handle that, then we can handle some of the other things. So I think people just need to take a real hard look, get together with a good estate attorney or someone, charitable trust individual. They have the knowledge to put these things together in a proper manner, because again, we're dealing with a lot of dollars.
Yeah. So could you just spend a little bit of time? I mean, I think it's important, if people are going to work with someone, they need to kind of get a good feel for who you are. And obviously we're hearing about that right now, but could you give us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your backstory, maybe some of your interests or some of the things that really motivate you?
Well, I keep thinking all the time at my age that I'm going to quit this business. But I really enjoy the people I work with, buyers, sellers, attorneys, abstractors, whoever, it doesn't make any difference. Most cases, those are really pretty, especially here in the Midwest, pretty good, solid people. And so, we try and work with those people the best we can. I was raised on a farm, so farming is in my blood. We have 3 farms here that we custom farm, my wife and I, in the Polk County area. And so we're involved in it. I like the everyday dealing with the farm people, etc. A number of years ago, and I probably told you this story, but a number of years ago, I was fortunate enough to be on NBC Rock Center with Brian Williams, and Harry Smith, the reporter, came out and rode with me for a day, which will never happen again in my lifetime. And he just indicated to me, he said, well, he asked me a question. He says, so Jeff, you appear to have some degree of success. What do you attribute that to? And I just said, well, Harry, number one, I think the good Lord gave me a talent, and that's talking. Some people may disagree with that, but anyway, it's talking. Number two, he absolutely put me in the best part of the world there is to sell farm real estate. No place in the world is what we have here. And I said, Harry, I get to work with the best people in the world. Farmers, owners, buyers, sellers, abstractors, attorneys, whoever. I said, how do you screw that up? Well, I think you can screw it up if in this, especially in the real estate business, if all you're concerned about is commissions, the kind of money you're going to make. If you do your job, provide the service that your customers expect, the money will come. If all you worry about is the money, you will not make it in this business. I've seen that too many times in my career. The first thing that someone sits down and does is figure out, well, if I sell this, how much commission am I going to get? Well, that's nice. You got to live. But that's kind of the way I look at it, deliver the service that the people are asking for or expect, and the rest of it will come. So I've been very fortunate. I've done a lot of things. The auction thing has been kind of an interesting deal for me. I didn't start out as an auctioneer, but I remember going to sale barns when I was a kid with my dad, and I always thought the auctioneer was kind of cool. And so we started that in 1984. My brother-in-law and I went to auction school, and it's really worked out very well. Sold everything from farm ground. Probably the most interesting thing I ever sold was a zebra one time in an auction. And that was a individual had kind of a little game farm, whatever. And he happened to have a zebra. He passed away, and so we ended up selling the zebra, the deer, whatever he had there. So that was kind of interesting. So I've got to do a lot of different things. Don't care, what your political affiliation is. I did get to do an auction with Donald Trump a number of years ago, which was somewhat interesting. So I did get to meet the President of the United States and was on stage with him, which is something I'll probably never get to do again. So, my whole career has been very rewarding for me. People ask, when am I going to quit? I don't know. As long as I enjoy it, as long as it's not a job, I'll keep doing it.
Right. So having good people to work with makes all the difference.
Well, it really does. And I've always said, a kind of a tongue-in-cheek remark is that 99% of the people that you work with are just pretty doggone good people. The other 1%, I can work with for a fee. And that's kind of the way it works sometimes.
Yep. I understand. And you do get to choose who you work with. That's something that we all get to choose. Some people don't really feel that way, but we do get to choose. what we
Right,
do.
right, right.
So I think you've kind of mentioned some of this, but in talking about your enjoyment for work and some of the trust being a number one thing and service being more important than money, what do you think prosperity is, and do you think you have lived a prosperous life?
Well, I think prosperity is not always about money. I'll be right up front. I'm in a second marriage, and I won't say anything disparaging about my first marriage, but I have found that in my second marriage, if I had no money to my name, I would feel like I was the richest person in the world, just because of relationships, how people are treated, how you respect each other, how you trust each other. So prosperity doesn't always mean dollars and cents. It means friendships, relationships, etc. And so I've been blessed with that. Again, your faith enters into those things, right. And I think that enters into your daily business, how you treat people. You don't want to treat people any different than what you're going to get treated, etc. So I think prosperity, just like I say, is just more than the dollars and cents that you got in the bank. I've always said that, I'm no different than anybody else. I'm in the business. I work on a commission basis. I've never got a steady paycheck since 1981. But the money part comes if you do your job, you work hard, and that's the way I was raised. So, like I say, prosperity can come in a lot of different ways, not just money.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate that. I mean, one of the things that I think a lot of people, and in our culture today, there's just a lot of wanting and not a lot of valuing of what we have. And sometimes when we forget what we've got, we lose track of really what life's really about. And so it's really good to hear.
Well, because everything is moving so fast. Right. Everybody wants something, and my grandkids are no different. When they want something, they don't want to wait 5 minutes. They want it now, because that's what they're used to, whether it be on their iPhone, their computer, whatever. You can get it right now. So
it is. Yep. And you got to learn that there is more to life than the things.
Yep.
Well, let's get back a little bit to what you do and kind of round out our questions here. Mm-hmm. What are some of the fears that your clients have? Are the things that they come into speaking with you or working with you that you try to deal with, or you're kind of prepared to deal with? Is there any of those types of things?
Well, I think when they come into my office or I go to their home, and all honesty, I like to go to their home because I can get more information out of them in their kitchen than I can in my office. They're just more comfortable. Okay. Right. I think, first of all, you have to figure out where they want to go with this. What is their goal? In most cases, if they want to get all they can get from their farm. So you sit down, counsel with them, try and figure out where they're going. If there are issues with family members, try and dig into those just a little bit to figure out what those issues are, so that, number one, those issues, and number two, that you don't help them to fester.
Oh, right. So
I've always said, yeah, in this business, probably one of the most important things too is know your customer, know what makes them tick, know how they think the best you can, and because if you know that, it's going to be a lot easier road for both of you. And I think too many people in this business It's just, well, we got to go sell a farm. That's it. No, that's not it. You gotta figure out how your customers tick, what makes them tick, what makes them do or think the way they do. And so I've always said is that I don't have to educate buyers. I have to educate sellers. My job is not necessarily to sell a farm. My job is to educate, give them information so that they can make a reasonably good decision. So when they sell a farm one day, the next day when they get out of bed, they're satisfied that they made the right decision the day before. So, like I said, I guess probably, it's understanding your clients, knowing your clients, et cetera. So,
yeah, that's interesting. So it's a lot of listening.
Absolutely, and that's hard for me to do because I like to talk.
Right. Right.
So.
Sure. Okay. Well, I sure appreciate you taking the time tonight. I've enjoyed hearing and learning more about what you do and how things work, and really enjoyed your principles of prosperity that you've shared. Give us little tidbits of what it means to run your own business and how to focus our energy. Are there any questions that I did not ask that you would like to answer?
Not really, I guess.
Okay.
I can't think of any right off the top of my head. That's just like we talked. Prosperity comes in many different forms, and I think it's up to me or us as individuals to figure out maybe what trips our trigger. And again, it's not always money. Sometimes it's a satisfaction of just getting something done. For me, to be real honest, sometimes it's a challenge for me where people that are having issues are not getting along. Sometimes it's a challenge for me to, number one, get the job done. Number two, have those people leave my office and they're still talking to each other. Because sometimes you have to break that ice with them. And if you can help that relationship out, if you can help that family so that when they get together for Christmas, they can have a good time, they can talk to each other, et cetera. So there's more about, in the real estate business, again, I keep dwelling on this, there's more in the real estate business about just the dollars and cents. There's just really more to that and the satisfaction you get from it.
You're doing a really important thing, and I sure appreciate learning about it. And just, could you mind telling us how people could connect with you?
Sure. They can go to thedirtdealer.com, number one. My cell number is 515-689-1648. My address is Mid-Iowa Real Estate, 615 Washington Avenue, Iowa Falls, Iowa. And my cell phone is on all the time. And I enjoy visiting with people. Sometimes people just call me up to talk about something, and that's okay. That's okay. I enjoy that. So obviously, as I say, I like to talk, but I got to be able to listen too. So
you do a great job. Well, enjoyed it, and I appreciate you taking the time with us. It's been a pleasure.
You bet. I appreciate the opportunity to do this, and again, I would entertain anybody who has any questions. I always tell people my advice is as good as what I charge you for it. So.
Very good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Principled Prosperity Podcast. You can find more podcasts like these at principledprosperitypodcast.com. This is Robert Talbot, and thank you for listening.